Welcome to A Guide to Every Deck in Modern. Today we're looking at Kirin Combo. Kirin Combo is a tempo creature deck built around combining Celestial Kirin and Ugin's Conjurant. Celestial Kirin is a card that says whenever you cast a spirit, destroy all permanents with the same mana value. Notably, it doesn't say non-land. You can therefore cast Ugin's Conjurant choosing X equals 0 and destroy all lands. The deck's primary game plan is to establish a board presence better than the opponent's even if only slightly, then perform the Kirin combo, destroying all of their lands and leaving you with a superior board state. It must be stressed that leveraging a superior board state is absolutely necessary. It doesn't have to be that much better than the opponent's, but it does have to be better even if only slightly. Kirin's trigger is a synergy that's hard to interact with since once Kirin is on the board, you can cast Conjurant and trigger it before your opponent can respond. The deck is most similar to Death and Taxes and is interested in playing a tempo game using ramp and taxing effects like Thalia to get ahead of the opponent. Taxing effects in particular are useful when the land count gets reset to 0. Various cards in the deck compensate for destroying your own lands, including Flagstones of Trocaire, Aether Vial, and Noble Hierarch or other mana dorks. Eladamri's Call finds any creatures you're looking for, primarily Kirin and Conjurant. Ranger Captain of Eos also finds Conjurant and can mess with Cascade, Suspend cards, etc. The rest of the deck includes various removal spells such as Prismatic Ending, Skyclave Apparition, Solitude, and Oust. Solitude is a good find with Eladamri's Call in a pinch if you desperately need to kill some big creature like Murktide or Inkmoth Nexus. Oust also deals with large creatures and is particularly useful when Kirin blows up all the lands, preventing the opponent from recasting it and forcing them to draw a card that isn't a land. Sideboarding. Being a white D&T type deck, the sideboard contains many white hate cards and creatures. Lavinia stops Cascade, the Evoke Elementals, and big mana like Tron. Hushbringer and Drannith Magistrate are potentially other creatures to play and can reduce the mana base to straight green-white. However, Hushbringer stops your own ETB triggers from Skyclave and Ranger Captain while letting your opponent free cast Evoke Elementals, and Magistrate doesn't stop the Evoke Elementals at all. Sanctum Prelate also stops Cascade and puts a damper on any deck with an abundance of cheap spells such as Murktide and Burn. Rest in Peace and Sanctifier Onvect are for graveyard decks, and the latter also for red and black decks like Death Shadow. Phyrexian Revoker handles any abilities you need to shut down, particularly Wrenn and 6, but a number of other notable cards are Yawgmoth, Stoneforge Mystic, and Charbelcher. Night of Autumn targets artifact and enchantment decks like Hammer Time, while Brutal Cathar is additional removal for any deck where you need to be rid of specific creatures of which Skyclave can't target. Weaknesses. There are 4 main weaknesses to the deck's game plan. First is simply not being able to find Kirin fast enough or getting outclassed on the board so that its ability doesn't matter anymore. Second is any matchup packing a lot of removal since you're almost an all-creature deck. Third is if the opponent is able to rebuild after Kirin wipes the lands. This is especially true for any deck that can operate on 1 or 2 lands like Murktide, Death Shadow, or Hammer Time. Wrenn and 6 in particular is a very problematic card since it rebuilds the opponent's resources single-handedly. Wiping out their lands doesn't actually defeat the opponent, and you must be able to close out the game quickly with combat damage before they can recover. Fourth is if you trigger Kirin and your opponent casts removal or flashes in a threat in response, putting themselves at or above parity to your own board. It's important to feel out when the right time to combo is, or if you should go for it at all. You should pivot in some matchups away from the Kirin combo and towards playing a value game or to try and out-tempo them in other ways. Tips and tricks. While the main plan is to blow up all the lands, Kirin can hit any number, which is especially useful in matchups with a lot of 1-drops like Hammer Time. Kirin also destroys every 0-mana permanent, including Cascade's Rhino tokens, Urza Saga tokens, and any illusions left behind by Skyclave Apparition. Ugin's Conjurant can be cast later in the game as simply a big creature. Other spirits trigger Kirin, not just Conjurant. This includes Skyclave Apparition. Be careful not to accidentally blow up your own stuff. Any lands that can be sacrificed prior to triggering Kirin or have death triggers are more valuable, such as Horizon Canopy. You shouldn't necessarily jam the Kirin combo as fast as possible since your opponent may still have lands in hand that they haven't played yet. Unlike most mid-range decks, Kirin combo has an excellent out to any of various big mana decks like Tron and Amulet Titan due to Kirin blowing up all their lands. Due to Kirin blowing up all your lands as well, it's important to think about which lands you play in what order, which lands you fetch for, and which you'll still have access to afterwards. This decklist and primer were based heavily on work written by author Pizza. You can read their original article at the link in the description. I hope you've enjoyed this look at Kirin Combo. I want to thank my fellow players in the Magic community for whom sharing their experiences helps make these guides possible. You can find additional resources, such as an up-to-date decklist, in the description. If you think I left out anything important or got something wrong, please leave your thoughts in the comments, and stay tuned to see what deck we look at next time.